What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be talking about why there's absolutely no point to spending over $800 on a concealed carry firearm itself. I'm not talking about the optics you put on it, the grips, the light, the base plates. I'm simply just talking about the firearm itself, the mechanical device itself. There is zero reason why you should spend above $800 in 2024. Let's talk about it, guys. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I work hard over here on this channel, even if you don't agree with all my takes, all my opinions. At least we discuss this stuff, and you can understand that it comes from my point of view and my opinion from my experience. Now, we live different lifestyles. We carry different guns, we're different sizes, so it may not work out for you, but at least respect the fact that I'm always honest and I always tell the truth from my perspective, right? All right, let's get into it. Well, the number one reason I would say that you do not need to spend over $800 on a firearm for concealed carry is this table in front of me, right? In front of me, I've put some of the most popular handguns in the world for concealed carry that all tend to be reliable with, a few lemons and exceptions here and there. But these tend to be handguns that people really, really like and enjoy, right? And I would say that majority of people tend to carry a firearm between $350 and $800. And I think that is the smartest choice, right? I have nothing against Staccatos, Nighthawks, Dan Wessons, except for their Dan Wessons or anything like that, right? I don't mind expensive firearms. I have nothing against them. As you can see, I could have bought a bunch of expensive firearms. On top of that, with all the rest of my collection, I could have bought a ton of expensive firearms, right? For every 4 Glocks I have, I could have bought a Staccato. So obviously, we have 3, 4, 5 Staccatos on this table, basically. But why don't I own one? People always ask, why don't you buy a Staccato? Why don't you buy a double stack 2011? Why don't you? And it's because, one, concealed carry for me is about having a reliable handgun that works and is enough. That's it. I don't need a fancy handgun. I don't need the best looking handgun. I don't need a custom handgun. I want something that, 1, is reliable. 2, fits my hand well. A lot of people say that doesn't matter, but for me, I have bad hands. I work with my hands as a new construction plumber. I need something that fits my hand well. Otherwise, it just causes straight up pain in my hands, right? And then 3, just something that has aftermarket support, right? You want something that has a good holster selection. I have a bunch of handguns that aren't very popular, and you can't find holsters for them. It just is what it is. There's a couple here, a couple there, but they're all trash. When you have something like a Springfield Army Hellcat, every holster in the world, or every holster manufacturer, makes a holster for this. So you have the largest selection possible of holsters. On top of that, Spin Firearms and my buddy Dan are going to be dropping a holster, actually a couple holsters, a full line of holsters. So stay tuned to that. We are going to be making the best holsters for you guys so people aren't spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just trying to get one holster. I have hundreds of holsters, a lot of experience with them. We are going to be putting out the best holster. Another thing that's nice about handguns like this is the magazines. My Hellcat mag is about $32 on average. All of them, right? My Glock mags, I was just at the store this morning. I saw Glock mags for $18 for the Glock 19. $18 all the way up to like $30. Who cares? That's a great price, right? Once again, Springfield Army Hellcat, about $32. So you have a reasonable firearm. If you get a Staccato, right, your mags are going to be 100, 110. All these custom 2011s, 90, 75. The base plates alone are like 85. It's crazy. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, you're poor, you're broke. Only a poor would say that. No, I'm just not stupid. There's other things in life other than firearms. Do I love firearms? Of course. Why do I have a ton? Because I run a review channel. But honestly, I would be just fine carrying this the rest of my life. I love my stock Glock 26 Gen 3. Looks like crap, it's ugly as sin, has no features, no red dots, no rails, but it goes bang every time. All my Glock 26s go bang every time. That's all I need out of a carry firearm, right? Show me in all these videos, right? There's all these active self-protection videos and self-defense encounters caught on tape, stuff like that. Other than law enforcement, tell me the last time you saw someone pick up their firearm to defend themselves. Fully extend and look through that optic. Now hear me again. They go to defend themselves. In this super fast, chaotic, adrenaline-filled moment, you're pushing off, you're grappling. Hold on, let me check my optic. That doesn't happen. You're point shooting. You're shooting from the hip. That's why you see majority of my carry guns have nothing on them. They're literally bare, right? A stock, bare, concealed carry handgun. Now, do you guys think that between a Staccato and this Glock 26, we would have a different outcome in a self-defense encounter? I don't think so. I really don't. If you train and really work hard with your carry concealed firearm, you will be just fine. Do I want to get a staccato? At some point, I'm sure I will. But at the same time, like I said, there's other things in life. I like vacations. I like, getting my kids whatever they want in life. I want a bigger house. We're moving soon. We want to get 15 acres. We also want to buy a plow of land. There's stuff like that that matters more because I can get on that land and train every single day. You can have the best handgun in the world and suck. You can have a terrible high point and be good. Simple as that. What matters is what you do with these firearms, right? Obviously, you got to make sure they're reliable. Obviously, make sure you get a good holster, good defensive ammo. But after that, it's all up to you with your training on your firearm. You don't need to feel lesser because you have a $500 Glock. Someone calling you a smooth brain and poor, right? You don't need to feel lesser because of that. Literally just $500 Glock 26. And actually, I got this Glock for $275 used, and it's my carry gun. I literally carry a $275 handgun, and that's it. But I feel completely fine, and I know I can handle myself with this handgun. Now, there's way more than just a Glock 26, though, right? You have stuff like the Hellcat Pro. Capacity, thin, light, concealable, right? That's another thing about the 2011s. They're huge. Even their subcompact models are thick, heavy. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going out and playing football with my kid at the park with a full-size handgun. I'm not walking around like this with even a Glock 19, right? Let alone a full metal staccato. I'm going to play football with an FN Reflex. I'm going on a bike ride with my kids with a Springfield Army Hellcat, right? And these are all handguns between $350 and $800 that are reliable. Now, here's another thing. I went to a couple defensive pistol classes, right? And a couple people had staccatos, and this happened on a couple different occasions. We do a bunch of malfunction clearing drills, right? Out of every handgun there was Glocks, SIGs. I had the smallest handgun out of everyone. Staccatos. Staccatos had the worst malfunctions because of specs, tolerances. Whenever a spent casing got stuck in the handgun, you were banging it out with a rod. I think it happened 2 or 3 times to one guy. My Glock 26, and the other time my Glock 43X, not a single problem. Just clear the malfunction. With that staccato, it was a disaster. And imagine taking a guide rod, or a rod and a hammer, and just banging on that $200 or $2,000 firearm, $2,500 firearm. That, to me is just whatever. Then you can also look at if you do have to defend yourself, and you do it the right way, legally, which you should, and your training kicked in and did what it was supposed to, you now could potentially lose that handgun. But on top of that, even if they give it back to you, you don't want to carry a handgun that you had to use. Trust me, it'll change your full perspective. I know someone who had to use a Glock 27 in self-defense just like 2 years ago. Never wants to see that Glock 27 again. Loves the handgun. It saved her life, but it's because of what it symbolizes, and she hates that day. So it is what it is. But once again, that Glock 27, when they needed it, ran. It did what it's supposed to do. And on top of that, another thing, having a heavier trigger. I know people want the best trigger because they can shoot the best with it, but they don't think about the side of stress, adrenaline, chaos, not knowing who's a target and who isn't, doesn't know who's attacker, who isn't. Like, there's a lot going on in a situation, and your finger, even though it's all cool to say, oh, keep your finger off the trigger, it's much harder when you're in an active combat self-defense encounter to wanting to keep that finger off the trigger and possibly cause you problems with having to spend time getting over to that trigger on target. So having a heavier trigger, a heavier defined wall, is actually a little bit nicer in self-defense. You don't want a 2-pound trigger. You don't want a 3-pound trigger. I'm just telling you guys, it's just real. I'm just being real with you guys. There's no need to spend more than $800 for a self-defense concealed carry handgun in 2024. We got the CZP-10S for $350. FN Reflex, $500, one of my most accurate handguns. IWI Masada Slim, about $430. PPS M2, if you want a little single stack, about $350. XD Mod 2, I found this used, $325. Glock 43X goes for about $500 for MOS. My favorite complete concealed carry handgun, Glock 26 Gen 5 MOS, about $500. Like I said, there's no reason to spend over $800. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.